Welcome everyone, this is Evelyn. It's 4:11 on the clock. The 4 is the Emperor, the 11 is justice, truth and balance, as well as alignment. The 4 is also stability and building and structure and manifesting on a survival level as opposed to your dreams. So 4:11 is also that emergent information energy, which actually fits right in with the messages that came up today, because the urgent messenger of Mercury combined with Uranus came up, which is exactly that information. So let's go ahead and take a few deep breaths first. Take a deep breath. Another deep breath. And one more deep breath. Sending lots of love and blessings out to you all. It's a nice rainy day here. Thank you so much for joining me. I was just actually doing my run in the rain. It actually felt really good. The temperature was perfect to do that. And I had some crazy stuff that came up. So I have the big read on the table for you, and we'll get to that. But I just went into pulling some cards for the general energies this morning from, what was I using? I was using Nature's Whispers deck, as well as the Good Tarot, which I haven't used in a while. And so some really interesting, weird energies came up with that stuff. So I'm going to share all that with you, and then we're going to get into the big read as well. And definitely a lot of China energies coming up. Even with in the headers for my big read, I had Ling, Hing, and Ning coming up, as well as Mao Se Tung came up, which is a really weird energy to come up, but we'll get into that. So for the dice for the Twin Flames today, it is May 27th, 2022. And we have the number 7, which is the number of the Chariot and Cancer. It's also the 7th month, which also includes Cancer going into Leo. And again, there's that Mary Magdalene energy at the switch between Cancer and Leo of July 22nd. And then we have the energy of Uranus right here, which is, again, the Aquarius energy, the quickening type of energy. It's sudden events. And then we have Leo here as well for the sign. So Leo, Uranus, which came up today in the read as well, and the number 7, the Chariot and Cancer energy, as well as July going into Leo, which we have Leo as well. So definitely Cancer and Leo coming up, as well as that energy of Uranus, which is Aquarius. So very interesting energies there. So we got a couple of fixed, and then a cardinal. And Leo always brings up children, right? And the inner ego as well. And the family with Cancer. So there you go. A lot of kid family energies there, and sudden events. So first we're going to get into this read with the cards that I pulled this morning. And I will show you the cards because I have them out here. They're big cards, and I didn't pull a whole lot of cards. But all right, so this is the cards that I pulled out. The top deck is the Nature's Whispers, and the first card is the underlying energy, the bottom of the deck. And the second row is the Good Tarot. And again, the underlying energies, the bottom of the deck is first. And actually, this is the first card out from the Good Tarot. Sorry about that. And you see how much that energy is like Mao Se Tung. And the name literally came out. So, all right, so we're going to get into that. I'm going to show you these individual cards as we go too. Let's see. So the first cards that came out as I go along, because there's some comparisons between the cards I wanted to show you too, because there are some synchronicities there for sure. All right, so let's see what else came up first. I was waking up to a dream about my father and my twin. It was weird, like all of a sudden they were both home safely, and I wasn't sure who I should go to first. And I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings, which was really interesting too, because I had that experience with my son when he was really little. right? Because when your son's, only 3 years old, of course you're going to go to them first. But of course, the husband may get upset over that. So there's that kind of energy coming up. And let's see what else came up. And today is the energy of the 27, which is the Ace of Wands. So that inspiration, that third flame. And the day adds up to 38, 11, which is the Queen of Cups. So that very loving, kind, intuitive energy, that very loving mother energy, just a kind person in general, very sweet, doesn't like conflict. And I was finishing up a couple of videos. I didn't end up, I didn't watch the end of them. So I just watched them after I woke up this morning, which was actually some really good information that came up. So one of them I'm going to recommend is Indigo Angel, had a video with Dr. Rose Honor, so you might want to check that out. And also I was listening to Elizabeth April, just general energies on how to clear your karma kind of stuff. I just finished up that video too, and I enjoyed both of them. What I really liked about Indigo Angel's video with Dr. Honor was that she talked about the connection between the different organs and the chakra systems, but not so much the chakra systems, but the organs connected to what types of fears they're connected to. Like the liver, I always talk about anger in the liver and the joints. So that kind of thing was coming up, as well as the liver, which was significant to me, being connected to the eyes, perhaps with eye issues. And a reminder to, speak to your organs and send love to your organs. She was talking about Ho'oponopono to your organs, because, we've had so much negative self-talk to ourselves, self-hatred, and we need to heal our organs as well regarding that energy. So you can watch that video about all that. And so with the Queen of Cups and the Ace of Wands, very passionate energy coming up from the Queen of Wands, who's usually more sensitive energy, more emotional energy, as opposed to that passionate energy of the Ace of Wands. But that is that third energy, that inspiration, that God energy, that sun energy, that brings the energies of the twins together, the child energy, of course. And then the Good Tarot, when I shuffled those decks, it was 10:30. I woke up at 9:30 this morning. I didn't sleep well the night before, so I don't usually sleep that late, but it felt really good. And I woke up at 30, and then I pulled the cards for the Good Tarot at 10:30. So 30 is very significant, which is the home and the union energies. And when I first got up this morning, something I don't normally do is there was a couple dresses I had bought recently, just some inexpensive dresses, and I ordered them online, so I didn't know if I would end up liking them or not, really, because it's never exactly what you think. Like the yellow wasn't really the yellow that I like, but it worked out. I tried it back on this morning after I'd washed them, and I liked them better this morning when I tried them on. But again, it was just that energy of seeing things with a new perspective. And again, the energy of that yellow, the Mary Magdalene yellow coming up, which of course is the color I like, because that's the color that looks better on me. I don't look good in like the harsher, brighter yellows. But the energy of the sun goddess comes up. And it was so cool when I first pulled these 3 cards, because the 3 first cards that came out Nature's Whispers was the first deck. Which was that deck? So I guess, was it the first? Sorry, you guys. I'm confused about which deck I pulled from first, but it was important. What did I do here? So I think I'd pulled these cards separately for me. That's why I'm confused, but that's okay. The reason why I wanted to bring up these cards that I pulled for myself this morning, because I pulled up the sun was the first card up, again, giving me that positive energy of that goddess energy, and she's literally dressed in yellow, basically, like the goddess. The second card was the Four of Earth, or the Four of Pentacles energy, being very moderate and practical, saving, holding on to things. And again, the second dress was more of a neutral color, but the flower in her hands was more rosy as opposed to yellow. And then the third card that came out was the Two of Air, which had more blue and white colors. And it was really interesting because I actually tried 3 dresses on that I bought because they were really inexpensive. And the first one I tried on was yellow, the second one was rosy, and the third one was blue and white. So the cards actually came out exactly the way I tried my dresses on, and they were all cards with a woman posing. So it was really cool the way they came out this morning. So a fourth card came out with the third card, the Two of Air, which is that energy of being in your knowing and keeping your energy clear and to yourself. But it came up with the card of 8 of Wands. With that card, regarding the energetic exchange back and forth, the passion, the arrows of love, the communication, the travel, but just that energy of a lot of, maybe there's some energy that needs to go behind that third dress I tried on as opposed to the first 2. That kind of energy came up. And actually I wanted to actually sew a couple of ties onto that third dress. So the cards came out exactly the way I experienced trying on those dresses this morning. There's also the energy of the bamboo forest with orange, yellow glow ball lanterns in the forest, and very magical with one butterfly in the picture. It was like a woman in the cliff. The card reminded me of that Metatron card. I'll have to show that one to you. See if I can find that real quick. So the card that came up from this deck literally is a totally different energy from the Metatron deck, but it's that beacon energy and transformed. So I want to show it to you because it's important for you guys. If I can get this card. All right, beacon, where are you? There you are. That wasn't too bad. Okay. So let me see if it's in this deck. See what the number was. That was the number 21. Sorry, I just want to really find these 2 cards for you. These cards aren't the easiest to go through. They tend to stick a little bit. Let's see. Where are you? Come out wherever you are. There's some really cute pictures in this deck too. Is it already out? I don't think so. It was the very last card that I looked. Of course, isn't that the way? Okay. So I wanted to show you these 2 cards because this came out in my read this morning. You see how beautiful these cards are. And you don't see a lot of these things in these cards right away, which is why I like this deck, because it's really cool. There's some really intricate pictures in here. But you see, she looks like part of a cliff here, above the water over here. And what I was connecting it to is this one here of the beacon in the Metatron deck. And you see how they're the pillar of the light with the waves crashing up against their shore. So this is a totally different perspective of that pillar that you are, with the ocean waves bouncing up at the bottom of your pillar here. But it was a very different perspective, and a much more feminine perspective, right? Where this is more straightforward and masculine, this is much more artistic and feminine. And here it's not the moon, but you're actually looking at the earth. So where are you looking at the earth from? And the map of the earth came up in something else today too, so that was significant. All right, so first those came up, and then I did Nature's Whispers, and this was at 1049, which is the Wheel of Fortune and the 9 of Cups, which I showed you the picture of these cards already. The underlying energy was the 42, let love be your beacon. So this is that first underlying energy, and you see how orange her energy is, and she's wearing a heart. Let love be your beacon. 42 is the Two of Cups, so it's very much that one-to-one energy of love and one-to-one relationships. So from that energy, as the underlying energy, and then these three cards came out. Love Matters, which is number 43. You see the birds coming towards her. And this looks like a very disjointed bird. It doesn't look like a bird. It looks like something's wrong with it. And then there's the Leap of Faith with 22, which is the 22 is the Fool's Journey, the Fool, and taking that leap of faith. And you see she's standing on a spider web there. And then we have Hope and Happiness. And you see how freed she is. You see she's now along the shore coast here with all the birds. But I don't know if you can see in here, but they're all different energies. There's people and animals and all sorts of things. So keeping these three cards in mind, I'm going to tell you what I got from those. So let love be your beacon. And again, a fresh approach, which was number 21. The cliff or the beacon, deep in thought, with waves crashing up against her below, deep in thought. Again, with the earth right next door and a rainbow belt, like a seat belt. Buckle up. And remember that I said buckle up because this was my notes, and then later on in my read when I looked up something, what I looked up said buckle up as well. So again, is she on Venus looking at the earth, or is she on the moon looking at earth? The number 42, 1-to-1, letting go of being the beacon, and let love be your beacon, 1-to-1. Wearing a heart on a chain, and that heart was a very coppery color, perhaps a loose dress, because she was also in a very comfortable dress in that picture, of oranges, perhaps peachy as well, flowers and rabbits and butterflies and squirrels, and a peacock on her right arm, which I didn't even notice at first, across from the woods or by the tree in the yard, planting flowers perhaps, as the first card that came out was number 43, Love Matters. As the birds come in, but this bird is disjointed and its tail is missing. The wings look like they've been reattached but no longer fit, despite the bird's memories inside. The bird connects with her hand as she's cloaked in natural light browns, in the color of dirt that cloaks the earth, and flowers again in her hair. The bird is leaving 2 other birds to go on without them. The bird with memories of him and this woman flying together, seeing the trees with many faces, with twists and turns and their auras. Also blue, a blue aura of the trees, and a big sail ship that left, making its way through the marshes here, which is weird to see a big ship in, right? And then as soon as I said marshes, I was getting Marcia from the Brady Bunch. And then when I put Brady down, I was getting braids in your hair, which can be another wound, right? So a lot of people have to wear braids in their hair. When I was growing up, we weren't allowed to go to school. We weren't even allowed to wear pants when I was in elementary school. We had to wear dresses to school. And I have curly hair, so of course my mom would kill me brushing my hair every morning because we didn't have conditioner back then. And they would just, yank the crap out of your hair. And again, depending on the type of hair you have or your culture, you might have been forced to wear your hair in braids for days at a time, right? Which is going to be very uncomfortable, as I'm sure most of you very well know. It's not something good. I take my hair thing out every night before I go to bed because I can't stand having it in my head. But there's wounds about this, about pulling on your hair, being forced to wear your hair a certain way. But also the Brady Bunch was coming up here. With Marcia was coming up. And then Jan and Cindy were the 2 younger sisters. Jan was the middle one. I was the middle child, so I was associated with that. And then the brothers, Greg, Peter, and Bobby. And then David Cassidy and Davy Jones came up of the Monkees. And Bobby Sherman was my favorite with the choker he used to wear. So when I was looking, I couldn't think of Bobby Sherman's name when I was thinking of him because it was so long ago. But on marinesite.com, what came up was, do you fear death? Asked Davy Jones. So I guess I looked up Davy Jones first. But he was a legendary captain of the ghost ship Flying Dutchman, the Pirates of the Caribbean. At the world's end, an octopus-faced man with heart in his chest, as I just showed you a picture of someone with a heart hanging in front of your chest, and plus that other picture of the Mao Zedong type energy also has a heart, like below where his heart should be, on his chest. The octopus in his chest, as a forever memory of his love's betrayal, is a cruel sailor with everlasting greed for violence. Davy Jones' locker comes up as Jones raises the black pearl after making a pact with Jack Sparrow, is how Davy Jones' locker comes up in the movie. That's not actually what it means. So at 11:11, Davy Jones' locker, and what that actually means is the seabed, the resting place of thousands of sailors who had drowned at sea. Another one that came up was Where Are You Going, Billy? The song, Where Are You Going, Billy? A lot of you may not even have any idea what that song is because I was young when that happened. And that was the Poppy Family in 1969. You are my whole mate. I'm trying to remember the song. My heart and my soulmate. So, Where Are You Going, Billy? You can look it up if you'd like to. But all of these names were coming up, right? The Davids and the Billies, and 11:11, Davy Jones' locker, and all of those who drowned at sea. And then the next card was the 22 at 11:22, that leap of faith it's called, the fairy on a tightrope web, it's a tight web strand, like a spider web, on her toes. And then all these different names were coming up, Bobby, Billy, Brady, Brad, Brian energies at 11:24, which is the 11 of justice, truth and balance, alignment, and the Queen of Wands, which is also Omega. For me, it's like the end of karma energies, but on a local level as opposed to around the world. So this energy of the leap of faith card of 22 and the Fool's Journey, the fairy on a tightrope web strand on her toes, perfectly balanced and posed on like a flying trapeze, except there's no ends, there's no bars, there's only the spider web below to fall into. She's focused on her wand up above and the butterflies as well, and her own moth-colored yet beautiful wings with dress to match, without a care in the world, only that. I feel pretty, oh so pretty, I feel pretty and witty and bright, and I pity any girl who isn't me tonight. So that's coming up from West Side Story. Floating on a strand of gossamer thread, light as a gossamer wing, and spider web below made of light. You see her as flying, but she actually has support, as light as it may be. So you're seeing this whisper of a spider web, and you're seeing that in the card. But you normally see a fairy, you don't see anything at all. But what they're telling you in their dimension, they actually have a web to lean on. They're not necessarily having to fly up in the air by themselves. They have support there that they can use as light threads in another dimension. At 11:33 is the justice of truth and balance and alignment, the 33 of the Christ vibration and that higher love of unity consciousness. And the next card that came out, which was hope and happiness, and the number 48 of walking away within. Seashells, seashells by the seashore, walking away and within. Her hair on fire in rainbow colors of the splatter wheel and finger paint, and yet aligned so perfectly. She is that coastline, that feeling, that eternal breeze through her rainbow crazy hair, arching her neck towards that open ocean, as flocks of seagulls and swans and horses and animals and people for miles around, in one long sine wave going back and forth, the dust in the wind along the coastline, all flocking to the water where land meets sea, and the brush, all longing for that purity, worshipping the sun's rays, and what may come as they flock from coast to coast, coasting perhaps an inner coast with a bit of island or island, protection to calm the force of those who have died at sea. Noah's Ark was coming up as well, with all the people and the animals, and how much more than 2 per each are coming up here at the coast. A concert at the beach of close encounters of the third flame, yours, theirs, and the sun, as her colors here become brighter and brighter, from all rust to mostly brown to muted color to rainbow crazy hair. And then Mao Tse-tung came up and Cindy Lou Who. Like, what the heck? Why is Cindy Lou Who coming up with Mao Tse-tung? So, and a lot of what came out, I was just getting, because I haven't reread this, so a lot of what just came out in that paragraph means something different to me now that I got the rest of the read here. So at 11:46 to 47, this is when Mao Tse-tung came up, and this was just a download to me and Cindy Lou Who. They came out together. I'm like, okay, my guides, who are you sending me to with Mao Tse-tung and Cindy Lou Who? So, of course, I look up Mao Tse-tung, and he was born 12/26/1893. He died September 9th, 1976. The chairman of the People's Republic of China from 49 to 59, and led the Communist Party from 1955 to his death. He had that great leap forward where he killed millions of people, and his father Mao Zedong, spelled Zedong differently, is actually his name, but the way it's spelled is different, I guess, as his leader. I don't know when it was changed, but his name was Zedong, M-A-O, but then it was Maotsetung, and that's the way I wrote it when I first got the download. But Mao Zedong, Zedong, was a prosperous grain dealer, and in 1918 he graduated. It's not his father. His father was a grain dealer. And in 1918, he graduated from Hunan First Normal School. And not because of his parents. His parents wanted him home, but he didn't want to do what his parents wanted him to do. So he left, and when he went off to school himself and became a certified teacher. He then went to Beijing University in 1921, was then an inaugural member of the Communist Party. So 11:54 this was, Justice and the Page of Swords, the messenger of truth there. March 1925 is when the Chinese president Sun Yat-sen had died, and then Chiang Kai-shek, who took over his place, was more conservative and traditional. So then April 27th, he broke alliance and began violent purging of all the communists. After a great leap failure in 1962, which was Mao Tse-tung's his whole theory behind how we're going to make things perfect in our world, right? He quietly then was pushed to the sidelines because he ended up killing millions of people. In 1966, he made a political return, ordering all the schools closed, and the intellectuals who had been going to school in the cities were sent to the countrysides to learn how to do manual labor. And then he died of Parkinson's. So that's, for those of you who don't know Mao Tse-tung, that's just a real brief history. So, okay, who's Cindy Lou Who? Who's Cindy Lou Who? Well, guess who Cindy Lou Who was? His first wife's name was L-U-O, Luo. I'm sure it's not pronounced that way, but that's the way my guides get me to who it is, right? Cindy Lou Who? Well, she was a who, because no one would have known her, because she was his first wife. It was an arranged marriage between their two parents. Her name was Luo and then Yixiu. She was born 10/20/1889 to February 11th, 1910. She was Han Chinese, and she had an arranged marriage with him by their fathers, where she was 18 when he was only 14, and this was 1908. He was unhappy with this match, and he never consummated it, or said he never did. He refused to live with her, and socially was disgraced. She lived with his parents for 2 years until she died of dysentery, while he moved out of the village to continue his studies elsewhere. Her mother was a distant great aunt of Mao Tse-tung, okay? So they had a surname of Mao, so there was a relationship there between the two families. His father was Yi Chang. That was his name, Mao Yi Chang. I'm probably not saying it right, but that's okay. So Mao was was actually in love with his cousin, Wang Shigu, but their horoscopes were incompatible, so they weren't allowed to marry. And of course, he was only 14 years old at the time, too, right? So he became a fierce opponent over, I guess, his years of the arranged marriage because of what happened to him when he was 14. He ended up having 3 more wives. That was in 1920, 1928, and 1939 he remarried. And then he came up that card, the King of Fire, after that. So there was Mao Zedong again, literally, okay? And he's wearing the sun. And I have to show you this energy is so crazy how perfect these cards are. So the King of Fire comes up from the Good Tarot, and the underlying energy was of justice. So here's the Good Tarot, and this is the underlying energy of the Justice card, and the 11 of alignment, truth, and balance. You know, it's a very loving card there. And let's see here. So below that Justice card, which I wanted to take note, just below it was the Wounded Warrior and the King of Air coming up. So it's like the two fathers arranging this marriage. They wanted me to understand how significant this was in his life. Because I just told you about Jack Sparrow and how that was about the betrayal of that first love that the mean guy, right, never got over. The pirate who was bad because he had his heart broken. So now we have Mao Zedong, who was pushed into an arranged marriage at age 14, and he was actually already in love with his cousin. So you can imagine, and he would never marry his cousin. So it was that love that never happened, and it's like that bitterness that turned into something else. So the Justice of the Wounded Warrior and the King of Air. Now he was born in Capricorn, but he's coming up as Major Leo, so he might have a Leo rising, but he came up as Leo several times. The King of Pentacles, present or gift of the Knight of Swords, gifting to the Page of Cups for this Two of Cups union. So they're coming up as the two fathers, bringing those two together, the Knight of Swords and the Page of Cups. And actually she comes up as the Knight of Swords because she was Libra, and he comes up as the Page of Cups, right, as the vulnerable, innocent one in this Two of Cups union. The Wounded Warrior and the King of Swords, Libra. So his story of being a child produced this King of Fire with the red heart. And there's that red china energy, right? And the sun decorated around his head. As Luo, she was shunned and shamed for doing nothing wrong. And this Five of Cups grieving and then sinking away as she was shunned, right? Someone had refused her as their wife. And he was in love. And then the Lovers comes up. So here's the purging of her, right? Being shamed and shunned by the 14-year-old, didn't want to marry her. And then him with his true love, right? The lovers that would never be, very much the twin flame energy, right? And here's the purge of the twin flames going through the purge. And then the world of the alignment of the age of Aquarius and the 21 of coming full circle. And here you have the Earth, and I'm getting that this is actually Mercury, where Venus is nowhere near the Earth at this alignment right here. And this is the Sun with the key to open the Sun. And you see how also in this deck all the numbers look like the Sun. And this is Mao Zedong saying, Sun, 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 I am the Sun. So it's like getting across how wounded he is from this simple thing that happened to him when he was a little boy. And not to mention her, right? The nobody who was never actually his wife and then died at a young age. And who would ever know about her? No one. That's why she came up as Cindy Lou Who. The lover and the lion and the beauty, his cousin, would never come to be. He's coming up as Leo, though born the day after Christmas, number 26, the Page of Wands. He saw multiple worlds, but only one sun. That all the planets line up for the sun, and that's who he was going to be, number 1, including Earth, with North Africa highlighted on this Earth planet in that picture as receiving light from somewhere else. Or perhaps that was the original entry point of coming here on Earth. Okay, so that's this picture here. So they're highlighting that this is the first place of humans on Earth, which is the Northern Africa area here. And not just one place, but the whole Northern Africa from Morocco to maybe Egypt. I don't even know if Egypt's included right here in this. But it's also having this light come in from somewhere else other than the sun. You see that? And then it's actually shining right here, which is right next to Newfoundland and beneath Greenland and Iceland here. Right here. So there's something going on right there in a dark way, because it's coming up with Mao Zedong. Okay? All right, so you have that, and you see the alignment of the age of Aquarius, because that was coming up as well. So including Earth, with North Africa highlighted as receiving light from elsewhere, or the original entry point, from Morocco, Mauritania, and the Western Sahara to Egypt and Sudan, perhaps, all the mountainous regions of Northern Africa. It's very bright in Libya, and not sure here if Egypt and Sudan were actually even included, maybe southwest Egypt on the edge and northwest Sudan, and a bright spot in the ocean east and north of Newfoundland, and however you want to pronounce it, if you want to pronounce it Newfoundland or Foundland, I'm not sure how the Canadians actually say it, but Newfoundland's current, actually the current that they show on the globe, you know, they show arrows of currents going around things. There's literally a current that cradles from Newfoundland going underneath this light being shed on the water. It literally cradles it beneath Greenland and Iceland. Newfoundland currently splits on that directional current. It splits into that cradle that cradles the spot of light that I showed you on the globe, but it also splits the other way to go down the United States coast, down by Halifax, New York, and then down to Washington, D.C., where it ends in Savannah and comes off the coast in the other direction from Savannah. So there's actually a gap between Washington, D.C. and where this other line comes northeast from Savannah. But there's like this safe place in the Carolinas there, between Washington and Savannah, as far as the wind lines here. Charleston also looks protected right there, as being part of the Carolinas, off the coast in the other direction. And this is Mao Zedong saying, if he only had the key to the sun. And also in this card, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a very dark face coming up here in this planet right here. And you see nothing like that in the Earth, but you do here, which I'm getting is Mercury. Okay, and I'm not sure what this was coming up, but then later I was getting Uranus over here. So Uranus, the Earth, and Mercury will come up as an alignment that I also looked up, and I wanted you to see why it was coming up. So the dark face was coming up as Mercury, but the reason why I'm saying that is Venus was coming up as way out of sight, right? Out of the loop, out of the way, right? Because Venus wouldn't be something that Mao Zedong would want energy from. So at 12:44, I then was looking up the Earth, Mercury, and Uranus alignment with the Sun. Like, when does that align? And then this plane flew overhead that sounded like a military attack, I swear, that flew overhead, and that was at 12:46. And again, the 46 of the inner children, and the 12 of the wisdom of seeing new perspectives. So on 4/18/22 was a significant alignment of Mercury, Uranus, and Aries, and that's where that site had talked about lightning mind of Mercury coming together with Uranus, right? Because sudden changes and the messenger. And Mercury and Uranus come together 4/18/22, and then June 4th next year. So it looks like they come together pretty much once, every year, 5/6/4, then 5/31/24, 5/24/25, then 5/17/26, and so on. There's a Uranus solar or sun connection on May 9th, 23 next year. So I was getting a connection between these two, the Uranus solar conjunction on 5/9/23, which leads into Mercury and Uranus coming together 6/4/23. So remember that, May 9th next year to June 4th next year, actually going into July, which came up later. So when I wrote this down, that even though it was a Uranus solar conjunction in the picture that was shown, Mercury was included in that picture as well. So not part of the conjunction, but in alignment with the three. So then May and June were coming up, which is 5 and 6. And what was coming up yesterday all day? 56. The 5 and 6 of the change, and then the lovers of love, family, community also. And it's also the 5 of the hexagon, and then the 6 of the, the 6 of the hexagon and the 5 of the pentagon. And then I was looking up the different, what dates were coming up as when these alignments would happen again. So again, 5/9/22, which is, 23. I wrote the number. But there's something going on this weekend too, which I'm going to get to in a second. So 5/9/23, where the sun power speeds up, because here's where we have the sun with Uranus, which is like sudden light exposure. And then June 4th, 23 is that lightning mind of Mercury and Uranus. And then Mercury rushes in to translate and get the message across. So the first aspect creates this sudden light and illumination and exposure. And then Mercury rushes in to translate and get the message across. And it's all happening in May and June of next year. But then at 108, I went back to the cards and the 6 of water. So here's the 6 of water card. So now she's stuck between a rock and a hard place, basically, right? She's in the emotions of the water. And notice it's a split in the earth and 2 rocks over there, and she looks like she's sick to her stomach. Or perhaps she's grieving, but what's wrong here? Why is she sitting there between these 2 rocks? So this is at 108, which is the Magician and the 8 of strength, of the dance, of the manifestation of dreams. And the 6 of water normally isn't like that. It's the two children loving each other and hugging each other. So why in this deck are they showing her, stuck between a rock and a hard place, basically, and grieving, or her tummy hurts? What's going on with the 6 of water here? The 2 reflecting. She's reflecting herself in the water between 2 land masses, that rock and that hard place. And then 3rd rock from the sun came up. But what they wanted to get me is to the 6 of this card, and because sixthly, and 6th was coming up a lot in the code lines for all the reads this week, so that was coming up for me. So 3rd rock from the sun was bringing me to Saturn, because it's the 6th rock from the sun. So Saturn was then coming up with the sun, the earth, and the Saturn alignment. And the 6 of water was coming up with the fault lines as well, which would come up in a minute. So Neptune water between Uranus and Pluto is also coming up, right? Neptune is that watery energy that she's sitting in, of Neptune, of illusion, between Uranus and Pluto, which is a rock and a hard place, right? The Pluto, right, which is that rock, right? It's the end of the planet, so to speak. It's kind of like a place setting. And then we have Uranus, which is that hard place to be, right? Sudden changes. And then at 5, it took me back to, the alignments took me into a site, okafala.wordpress.com. Again, okafala, wordpress.com. So she was bringing up the Roman numerals of 9/11, so 1xx1 gates, and the hourglass shape astrologically in aspecting. So on May 22nd, this is back in 2015, which is the year I met my twin, and this is where a lot of stuff started shifting and accelerating. May 22nd was an hourglass aspect of this 1xx1 gates from her website, or his website. And then on May 23rd of 15, because this was that Saturn, Sun, Earth alignment coming up, 5/23/15 at 2:34, 2:34 shut the door, was that Sun opposite Saturn with an early conjunction, and then Mars and Mercury were there too. So they literally were bringing up enlightenment there. There was this is this enlightenment coming up right before the retrograde into Scorpio, which is all about death and transformation through the alchemical process for a final purge. So they were just talking about what was going on that year. So through these dates, 5/23/15, 6/15/15, which is actually the day my twin responded to me, and then 9/18/15 they were aspecting, which is my birthday, which is kind of crazy. And 6/15/15 they were reflecting as 666, going back into that Scorpio death transformation energy of that for one final big purge. But we're talking about Saturn, which is over a 2-year cycle, and the Sun as well. So going from that Sun-Earth-Saturn alignment on May 23rd, 15, into a month later, 6/15/15, that 666 energy of Scorpio and death and transformation and going into a final purge, and then 9/18/15, which was where Saturn went direct back into Sagittarius for far horizons, and Mercury retrograde in Gemini to go within as the messenger of the gods. And again, they were being guided to purge, and that's basically when my purging started. It was right after September. That end of September actually is when I really started connecting on a physical way, an energetic way with my twin. So all of these conjunctions were coming up to be aware of this weekend too. So that was called also an hourglass conjunction here, or aspect rather. On 5/23/15 at 2:17 was with the Sun and Saturn, which they called the 1X gate or the 9 gate, and then the Venus Cancer opposite Pluto in Capricorn they called the 11th gate. So they were bringing up the 9/11 energy there as well. And then the word time they were referencing to numerologically, she broke it down into 119, which is a reflection of 911. Mercury rotates around the Sun every 88 days. So there's that 8/8 of the twins and Mercury again. And Saturn every 29 years, which is the 3 of Wands being present in the moment. So then I was guided to Cassiopeia.org. And they were talking about starting in 2021, moving into alignment, into an alignment that last happened 79 AD. And for those of you who listen to me regularly, 79 for me is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. This energy is supposed to culminate in 2024 as the Earth's gravitational pull by the Sun is canceled out as Earth is between Jupiter and Saturn and into that magnetic field created by that alignment. And this is the site that said buckle up, literally right there. So when the Earth goes between Saturn and Jupiter, it's like it cancels out the magnetic pull. And then there's a square in 2023 to 24 of Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, and Uranus, which are, of course, all the big planets, or the farther out planets anyway, that last time were in this square 536 to 578 after death. And the Pluto and Aquarius together, 2023, which of course Aquarius is all about that electricity and technical energy of 5G, change, rebellion, and revolution. So again, the American Revolution is also reflected in that energy, because Pluto is all about profound changes and Aquarius is sudden changes. Then on April 8th, 24, is a solar eclipse over America. The San Andreas and the New Madrid earthquake fault lines may be triggered on this date, 4/8/24, so you guys know. And the supervolcano in Yellowstone may erupt. Okay, so that was coming from their website. That was Cassiopeia.org. So then I was looking at the maps of the fault lines. And the New Madrid fault line is Memphis. It's right at Memphis where it starts. But it covers Arkansas, East Missouri, Kentucky, Illinois, and the San Andreas. Obviously, most of you know the California fault line. But that goes all along the California coast, from Northern California all the way down to San Diego. So from Eureka Northern California through Hollister, Parkfield, Simler, Fraser Park, Palmdale, which is east of LA, and then Palm Springs, and then Brawley, which is at the bottom east of San Diego. So that's the California fault line. 1811 to 12 was the last time the New Madrid line rang church bells in Boston. They're just trying to reflect to you how far away this has repercussions. So it looked like it could be up to like a grade 4 in my area coming from there. So it hit Washington and you know, everywhere around there, even though it's right at Memphis. It knocked chimneys down, it said, in Cincinnati. Oh, and leaving the Mississippi River 20 feet higher, causing it to run backwards temporarily. And this was from news mst.edu. And then on October 15th, 16 was a message that came up about a new fault line they found in California right next to the San Andreas Fault under the water. And that was Grand MAGERI 422.me 52321. He wrote in about an article he wrote in 2018 about the New Madrid waking up, that there were sinkholes in Lake Missouri and major fracture in a nearby bridge that had experts concerned. The Hernando de Soto Bridge in Memphis was closed until May 11th after a routine inspection found a crack in one of the bridge's support beams. And it connects Tennessee to Arkansas, which is so weird because I've told you that. When I was driving from my son's when he was in Missouri to Memphis to go to Atlanta, and I told you driving through Memphis we didn't stop because I was warned not to stop in Memphis because it's really bad. The bridge looked like, I said the bridge looked like it had a dinosaur came by and took a bite out of it. I'm not sure if this is the same bridge, but just saying, it's coming up about Memphis bridges, and I just said something about that recently. Now this fault line erupts every about 200 years, but the last time it erupted was 1812, so now we're past those 200 years. And at 2:04, the last card, the Four of Air, came up, which is after that Purge and the Love card, and the Age of Aquarius, where all the planets align. Then the cracks between the two rocks, which cause earthquakes, will heal. Any weak bridges will fall to be rebuilt. The Four of Air then comes up because it's all about peace. When the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, then peace will guide the planets and love will steer the stars. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. So you see where this is going, and Spirit's connecting with me major. So this was at 2:04 and 2:07, and then again reflecting the 4 to 7, which I always call the sweet spot in numbers, airing to the side of the light. As my phone started ringing, and it was a scam type call, it wasn't something I was going to pick up. But right as I looked at it and I said, no, I'm not going to answer that one, the ring literally muted. But then it went back to a regular ring again. It was really weird. So the Age of Aquarius coming up about the 7th house. When the moon's in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, then peace will guide the planets and love will steer the stars. And again, the dawning of the Age of Aquarius, where we are now. So that conjunction of all, or the alignment of all the planets from April 27th this year, 22, was Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn aligned, and that hadn't happened for 1,000 years. And now we're going into this weekend, which is another alignment that came up. So April 23rd, 22, the moon was in the 7th house and Jupiter with Mars. Jupiter with Sun and the moon basically align with each other twice every year, once every 175 years and once every 2 years as well. The last time Mars and Jupiter aligned in that way, I think in that 175 years, was coming up as 927 and 929, and the next alignment, which I don't know why they say, so you know, because it comes up as alignments versus conjunctions, so they're different. The next alignment's not supposed to be till 2742 and 2744. When the moon in the 7th house, The sun changes signs, which is good for love matching, which was coming up from DIY2U.net. The sun's position changes every 250 years. The new constellation changes every 2150 years. The precession of the equinoxes. The sun in the 9th house with Jupiter, where Jupiter and Saturn align. This one is the new age here. And we were just talking about the Earth getting between Jupiter and Saturn, causing a shift in the electromagnetic play between those two planets. And when the sun and planets cross the equator in the sky, it was coming up, this one is the new age. The sun and the moon in the 7th house is supposed to be lucky. And then, figuring out where maybe your 7th house is. And again, the reference to, it's individual because it has to do with your 7th house, not necessarily all the 7th houses, how it relates to your 7th house. So some of those aspects were coming up. I was just looking into my own stuff. And then in the sky.org was the Jupiter and Mars alignment on May 29th, which today's the 27th, and it's 5:07 on the clock right now. It's going on 5555 right now, 5555. So 5:07 is the 5 of, so there's big change coming up here this weekend, I guess. 5 is the Hierophant, 7 is the Chariot, which is commitment, and it's also societal norms, right? It can be guidance as well, and then the Chariot is all about ascension, right? And we have Taurus in the North Node, so it's like Taurus is guiding us through this ascension process. So on Sunday is May 29th, 22, is actually also Jerusalem Day, when they had victory after the Six-Day War in 1967. And there's going to be alignment on the 29th in Pisces. Another site said Aries though, but they're close together. It's right at that 0 point of Pisces to Aries energy. But it's through this whole weekend. It starts the 27th through the 30th, I think, actually. In Philadelphia, it said in the sky.org said it's rising at 02:45 Eastern Daylight Time before the sun rises, and reaching the altitude of 26 degrees before fading away, but that's on the 27th today. On blog.nasa.gov, it's lasting from the 27th through the 30th. Jupiter-Mars conjunct between Venus and Saturn, and then it peaks at 3:57 a.m. on the 29th. That's 4:57 on the East Coast where I am on the 29th. So the moon is in Taurus this weekend. It's not in Libra, which would be the native chart 7th house, right? It's in Taurus, but we're also being guided by Taurus in the North Node right now. This Taurus would be the 7th house of Scorpio, if you have Scorpio rising, right? Because that's determines your house. So if you have Scorpio rising, your 7th house is Taurus, and that's the connection to this weekend with the conjunction between Mars and Jupiter. So then I had to go back to Mao Zedong and Cindy Lou Who, and who were they? This was at 2:49. And remember, Taurus is the North Node, but Scorpio is the South Node, and those traits being let go of, those negative traits anyway, whatever doesn't resonate with you. So who was Mao and Cindy Lou Who? And I already brought up that Cindy Lou Who was his first wife. But when I looked at the cards here, the way they were lined up was like this. These two cards were vertical to each other, and they both look like they're holding their stomach, being sick to their stomach. How crazy is that? So check that out. I wanted you to see the visual on that. So both were holding their stomachs. Her heart was coming up as his solar plexus, as he wears the sun as his crown, and she between a rock and a hard place, making peace with that alignment. So we're going back to this young man, Mao Zedong, who became that monster at 14 years old, being forced to marry someone he didn't want to marry, and then this young girl being tossed aside, not wanted. So the wounds between the two of them. the energy of making peace with that alignment, of being between a rock and a hard place, taking a rest or break, or that 5D connection of him and his cousin that never was. The justice, and this was coming up as him and his cousin, right? That twin flame love that he had with his cousin that would never be. And the justice and the one-to-one love of coming together to purge their ancestral differences with the seahorse and the human and the bird and the human. So it's coming up as two different, family lines here. The fool's journey of the lover's leap and finding the world within and aligning with all that is. The king of fire, which is the king of wands, his heart was misplaced in his solar plexus, which is why she feels that anxiety in her solar plexus, or the twin flame. The 6 of Cups, inner children finding peace in their connection. And then I was getting Mao Tse tongue. Mao says tongue. So what does tongue mean? And what does Mao come up as? But it's coming up as, Simon says, Mao says tongue. And one of the words is tongue, but it also, one of the other things is once. Like Mao says things once, and that's all he has to do, because otherwise you're going to get your head chopped off, right? So the way that came up was Mao Tse tongue. Well, Mao means rock, and Tse means stone, and Tong means once, along with many other things. But I just wanted you to get the main energy of Mao Tse tongue, right? They're immovable. They say things once, and that's it. You get your tongue cut off, basically. Also, a definition for Mao is male lion. So here he is with that lion crown, even though he was Capricorn. He may have had, I don't know what his chart is, but he had some lions somewhere in his chart, because he's coming up as the lion in multiple different ways. So the male lion of Mao, and then Tse also, the Tse, TSE, also means firewood. That's that firewood, right? The desire he had for his true love that he could never have. And then the jail, the cellar underground, the barn with poop all over it. This was his life, right? It's the energy of the snake then having a mistress, the bad, evil person who he becomes. The mean, evil snake with a mistress, perhaps, who says hello and goodbye, or is a stone's throw away. The honey to clear things up and say, it's been hard and difficult time, I've been unwell, with a heavy tongue and an important tree, right? His lineage. So again, it's really interesting the way these energies were coming up regarding Mao Tse tongue and why he became the way he was. And he actually could have been a twin flame with his cousin if he had been allowed to be in that energy. But obviously that would never come to be. And he would take it out on the world, basically. At 301, which is the 3 of the Empress and the 1 of the Magician. So that's all the crazy stuff that came up before the read. So now we're going to go into the read on the table. So again, this is the way those cards had come up, so you can see the alignment between the cards. Because you can see, again, these two holding their stomach. And then, which also I found it interesting too, these two cards, they were the only one, they were animated. Like she's holding her arm up and so is she grieving over here. They just aligned up, they aligned so well. So, and then here's that alignment here, a picture of that alignment. You can see the website on there too. May 29th, that's Sunday, but it starts today. And the read on the table, here's the main read where you see the lovers in the middle of the read. And I'm kind of curious to see what comes up today regarding it after I've done the read. And here's the full 7-deck read. And here we go with that read. Okay, 322. The SIRIAN Starseed deck was cut and dealt. And this was yesterday. And I actually went to get to upgrade my phone yesterday because I have to, because they're going to basically make my phone not work anymore by next month. So and there's places I'm definitely going to need it. So I went to upgrade my phone, and I actually ran into someone I used to work out with at the phone store, so you never know who you're going to run into. And also what came up in this read, one of the words that came up, arning, A-R-N, is literally is eagle. So we're eagling here. So the eagle's energy is very important too. So the seagull or the eagle, those energies were coming up along with the fish lineages, just like in the Lyran lineages of the cat and the birds. So it's different family lines are coming together as the twin flames. And this was cut and dealt at 322, the 3 of the Empress, the 22 of the Fool, and the Fool's Journey. At 331, F flames came up, which again is the F, and S came up. So again, somebody might be cursing with the F word and the S word. But again, for me, it's the F is the expansion and contraction, or staying in the middle, reflecting the flames, which also can be drama. And the S is that Sophia, say it's soft and it's almost like praying. So we had West Side Story coming up again. I was just getting Frank for the F as well. Oh, Frank. So, however it comes to you, the F and the S and the flames between. And then that was at 331. 31 is that conflict energy, but also the pursuit of happiness at the 5 of Wands. It's all about group endeavors as well. And then at 346, I finished clarifying with the Empress and the 46 of the inner and outer children loving each other. And the only major arcana in this read were the Lovers and the Tower. That sudden event of Uranus and the obstacles of Saturn in Uranus's path, but then coming into the Lovers, which is that Gemini energy of Mercury, and that conjunction and alignment. So the Lovers and the Tower. And before the read, Reflection and the Alchemy also came up, which is the Hermit, and Alchemy is the Temperance card. So we had 2 swords, 1 pentacle, 3 wands, and 3 cups. So there's 21 and 33, which again is completion around the world, coming full circle, and the 33 of the Christ or unity consciousness, and standing up for oneself without getting triggered. We had the Page of Swords in the read and the Knight of Swords. So there's a father and son energy right there, as well as the Queen of Cups and the Knight of Cups coming up in the read. And the 9 of Pentacles, the sovereign between them, the one between the rock and the hard place of the King of Swords and Page of Swords, and the Queen of Cups and Knight of Cups. It comes up as either 2 couples, 2 sets of siblings, or perhaps one parent with one child, another parent with the other, or it's literally it can be also the twins, each with their inner child as well. But also it could be two circumstances, and then the one who's in the middle, right, between that rock and that hard place of the 9 of Pentacles, the sovereign energy, not wanting to go to either side, being neutral. So again, the polarity and the neutrality in the middle. The Queen of Wands came up before the read, along with the Page of Cups and the King of Cups. So a lot of cups came up. All 4 of them came up within the whole read. And then we also have double 1s and double 3s here, which is the Justice, and again, the Christ consciousness, 33, unity consciousness. And the 1, 2, 3 jump came up, as well as the number 2 being very significant here. The High Priestess, along with the 67 being significant, which also came up. 1967 came up, which is the Knight of Pentacles, the loyal, humble servant. 9-10, begin again, also comes up significantly here. And in a lesser sense, the 12 of the Hanging Man, the 23 of the King of Wands, the 36 of the 10 of Wands, the Atlas energy, the 78 of the 10 of Pentacles, the end of the deck, and heaven on earth, and the 89 of the Phi energy, again, of that F of expanding and contracting, or staying in the middle, neutral, reflecting. The code line here is all about healing and teaching and learning. And the code line number was 36, again, Atlas, coming from 9 and 27, and 9 was also very significant here. And they're all 9s, 9, 27, and 36. We're just missing 18 there. So again, the 18, all the 9s coming up here, 9, 18, 27, 36, but the 18 was coming up as significant, which is also the purple moon. And all about healing, teaching, and learning. You notice the Ling, Hing, and Ning came up here. Or Ling, Ling, Hing, and Ning. So there's a lot of China stuff coming up here. Also, whales came up here today. The Sei whale, S-E-I, the Sei whale. Sophia coming up as the whale mother. Seeing the hermit, or the 9, which the hermit is the one and the all, right, the collective. In clearing the twins, expanding and reflecting, and staying at the middle, reflecting instead. In the life essence, toggling up to the nth degree as the King of Swords, being enlightened. So again, the ARN word is coming up as the eagle, so eagling was coming up. And also S6 comes up. So T7, T5 came up in the thoracic spine, and now we have S6 coming up, which for this, the Galaxy phone and the Audi sedan came up, as well as Macy's came up. The mother seeing, the 9 wise twins essence, the 9 wise twins can be the hermiting twins or the collective twins, and their essence to the nth degree, the King of Swords on night 0, which is like the night of embodiment, right? Because the 0 is the energy of the human being embodied by Source. The leap, this is like also the twins awakening, or even the masculine awakening to the fact that if you rush the leap, it causes the life force or the glory to freeze, right? You can't connect if you rush, right? Because that's an ego energy. You have to be in that relaxed state. So it's like the masculine's awakening to this. Or also this could be attack in breathing, someone feeling that their lungs get attacked, or an asthma attack. But eagling was also coming up here. And then it brings up my eagle life in the sorrow of the lungs, of that heartache, goes into the lungs. And the eagle not, losing their breath, not being able to fly, like being punched in the chest, or in that solar plexus energy where Mao Zedong's heart had fallen to. The whale, the eagle, so animals were coming up, very significant ones, the whale and the eagle, and the lion, right? The only thing I feel like I'm missing is the elephant, right? Because they're the largest animal on the ground. And also foul-smelling things came up. So this was so weird, right? Because you guys who watched me yesterday, you know that I had water on the stove, and I left it on when I was doing my video. I forgot about it. And so I was smelling something. I'm like, well, that's not my candle smell. Like, what is that? And then I realized my water had burned out of the pan. But it wasn't just that. The definitions were coming up regarding foul-smelling things. Like 2 totally different definitions came up regarding harsh smells. One of them was hing. One of the definitions was asafoetida. It's a gum that's really stinky. And the other one is where was the other one? Anyway, there was another definition that came up that was about something that was stinky. And also to smoke, so anything like that, burning and bad smells. Yeah, if I find it, I'll tell you. But the very same. But there's definitely 2 different ones that we're talking about, stinky stuff. So again, animals coming up, foul-smelling things, and then as far as the code line regarding healing, teaching, and learning, again, also came up the South Sea. One who gets maced. So it's coming up as the whales getting maced. Like literally, like you'd mace someone. It's like they're getting that in their face. The hermit and the wise one, the sage, and the 27th Amendment was also coming up, which was September 25th, 1789. And that was Yahoo, plotting through the presidents.com. 2 of the 12 amendments that didn't go through at that time, that were not approved by the states. 10 of them 2 years later was the Bill of Rights, but then the last 2 that never got approved, and this of course was James Madison of Virginia. The ones that didn't get approved had to do with congressional pay. 200 years later, the amendment resurfaced with wide public support No law varying the compensation for the services of the senators and the representatives shall take effect until an election of the representatives shall have intervened or convened. I don't know why I wrote intervened. I don't know if that was what was written or not, but it was ratified 5/7, which I just told you the time was 5/7, 1992. So this is significant for some reason. For those of you in politics, you might want to take heed to this. When Michigan finally approved it, 5/7/92. James Madison was a master at binging on books and regurgitating his newfound knowledge, there's Newfoundland again, Newfoundland, and essays and debates. Before the Constitutional Convention, Thomas Jefferson had sent him a literary cargo of 200 books from France. So again, something about this is significant, and it's also referencing the masculine energy of Thomas Jefferson and how bright he was at being able to read and consume that information and be able to regurgitate it as well. Sophia, a poetic mother, right? So the opposite energy of the feminine energy being more poetic as opposed to literal in conversation. Seeing the hermit's wise inspiration to the nth degree. Mastering thoughts and words, blind men and orphans, and being good at 0.2. The leap of the soul in the eagle's glory and their suffering. Frozen, its beauty of being frozen in time. A lazy foot or lazy leg with durable life force, right? The human with a strong life force. The breath, the hinge, and the quote-unquote eagling, or the eagle's attack as the human being. So again, remembering that we were the wounded warrior before being human, the eagle's life of that sorrow and not being able to breathe, the asthma that comes up for someone because of the heartbreak that they feel from an animal life, that we were the skinned wounded warrior in child's pose when we began our life as a human. And you have to go back to your animal lives to clear some of this stuff because it's so intense. So, and then I remembered my session where I just told you guys that I cleared my eagle life that was so intensely painful for me, was on 5/17. And I remembered that was, I think, the day that I left to spread my parents' ashes last year when my twin drove by all of a sudden out of nowhere. So yeah, that was really weird. So it's 5/17 this year was when I cleared the eagle, and 5/17 last year was when he drove by. Also, Australia was coming up regarding this energy. So safety and security. There's safety and security coming up here in distilling. So some of you may be distilling your water at 5/10, which is the Hierophant and the destiny of that high vibration. Seeing the 9 of the hermits as making wise choices, which is also the all. The 7th master of thoughts and words. The after death test or night 0 again of healing and teaching and learning. To kill time, to shrink away from. The energy of teak, because it's really strong wood, right? The life force of someone like that. Valued for their shipbuilding potential, that's teak, but inner human life force relation of shipbuilding here, and eagling, the owl story, and the weakness of the eagle, the Sophia and the masculine energy, because that eagle life, I was experiencing the masculine's perspective there. I actually experienced both, because when they were together, the first time I saw that life was taking off from the mountain, from the nest, and it was beautiful, and we were together. But then it was the grief of the masculine having lost his mate. So there's that weakness here. Someone who, they never died though. So there's another story about a whale that comes up here regarding the pain of the animals, that we have to understand they experience that pain too. The Sophia family was coming up as the top, the peak, the summit. The southern right whale was coming up, found in the southern hemisphere. And again, most of the whales are on the endangered list in some capacity. They're not all completely endangered, but they're not allowed to hunt whales at all anymore. But specifically the sei whale was coming up, the SEI whale. And I was looking at the southern right whale as opposed to the sei whale, and I was getting the southern whale to be a mother. So I was looking up the whale stories to see what came up. And from March 29th, 11, so it was a long time ago, there was a dead sea whale that washed up on Virginia Beach, which I just looked up Virginia Beach. So that was really interesting. I was researching it the other day. And then 4/20/21 was cruising around quiet Scottish Bay. So that's when they found a whale, just hanging out in a bay all of a sudden out of nowhere, a Scottish bay. That was SWNS Bay, I guess. And since 1982, you haven't been allowed to commercially whale anymore. The blue whales are definitely endangered, as well as the sei whales. They're endangered. Wildlifetrip.org came up here. The size of the blue whales, which are the biggest ones, are 98 feet and 173 tons. Can you imagine? And then the fin whale, and then the sperm whale, and then it was the right whale, which is 60 foot with 100 tons, and then the sei whale is number 7. So when the number 7, the 7th master of thoughts and words, the after death test or night 0 was coming up as this sei whale. 52 feet and around 28 tons, again the 52 of the Queen of Swords, the grieving widow, and the 28 of the twin flames. The South Sea Mothers, the number 7 was on the list of the whales. The sei whale, it's actually pronounced. And the number 9 was the bride's whale. The number 2 is the fin whale. And again, the Newfoundland. The sei whale, the wise hermit twin, master of orbs after death test, at ground 0 point of a broken heart. Though this was coming up very much because 11/13/21, a sei whale was found in the Scottish water. They were found near North Queen's Ferry in Fife. First freed the whale back to the deep waters, and they saw the whale swimming strongly, so they weren't worried about him anymore. But the whale sadly re-stranded themselves in this bay, and their body was found at Dalgety Bay. The sei can swim at great speeds, and they're described as being like a cheetah, and I was getting like a lion, for a few hundred yards at least, but then they tire out. So they can go at great speeds for a short time, like a speed runner. They can't do distance running, but they can do it really fast. And that was coming up from Scotsman.com. Roddy Morrison in South Georgia said, I believe that's Africa, when we kill the sei whales, they made a noise like crying. It's making me cry right now. This is coming up from Wikipedia.org. But he's literally saying when we kill them, they literally made a noise like crying. And he doesn't only say that. He says, they seemed so friendly. They'd come around and make a noise. And when you hit them, they cried. Really, he's saying. The very same as the lion is what I was getting. So they described him as the cheetah, but I was getting the lion. Sees the hermit as wise. 2 in the chariot mastering their thoughts and words on night 0 or ground 0. So again, this is coming up as this whale literally committing suicide because they couldn't be with their beloved. It's like they freed this whale, but he came back to die. Came back to die on purpose is the message I'm getting. Just as idle food fish with a strong life force, but the eagle's yearning. And it's making me want to cry. It's so sad. So then at 6:15, I started this read, which is the Lovers and the 15 of the Devil, which is the same card again of dark and light. The Page of Swords is the underlying energy here. That's reversed. Let me move that over just a little bit so you can see over there, right? So the bottom card here is that Page of Swords with the mini cards on top. And the Queen of Wands is upright. Reflection is the Hermit is upright. The Page of Cups reversed with the King of Cups upright. And then Alchemy upright beneath this Page of Swords reversed, which is a negative message. The Queen of Wands, multitasker, reflects on this Page of Cups reversed and the King of Cups upright, blending, being patient, with the Page of Swords reversed and the Queen of Swords reversed. The Page of Swords in need of clarity and a slowdown, or with Libra in their chart, and the Emperor reversed, coming clean, or still a little sneaky, not telling, or in a heated exchange with the Queen of Cups reversed, twin flame, or with the Queen of Cups reversed, given an ultimatum by the Queen of Swords reversed, perhaps who may be lying or spreading rumors or threatening to do so if they don't do what they want them to do. At 6:58, which is the Lovers and the Four of Swords, the King of Cups upright, perhaps with Cancer in their chart, or Cancer's sun or rising, or in a bold move in need of strength, or lion energy there, or better health or health care, in disconnect or at a distance with the Queen of Pentacles over the loss or regret with the Queen of Swords reversed. And this can be her own sorrow. Or Cancer, King of Cups with Leo in their chart, at a distance or in disconnect as the Queen of Pentacles dips her toe in only to find no water, no emotion there, or trying her luck off the beaten path, over the past, with or as the Queen of Swords grieving, the war widow, or the Queen of Pentacles tucked her sad eagle away, ending the grief of the widow or the widower, or the man with two women. So again, it's coming up as the same energy as having grieving a loved one. The Virgo, Sag upright, but Libra, Aries, Cancer, and Leo all reversed here. The King of Pentacles upright being seen, praying perhaps, or with their eyes closed in quiet reflection of a divorce, a break, or spiritual side, or with Taurus in their chart, at war with jealousy, or rejected side. The old boys club goes down in the Battle of Normandy, won at all costs, but now there's no one around to share it with. The passion and freeing yourself beneath that. Remember that with passion there's pride, and go for the gold instead. Inspiration is that clear passion without the ego instead. It looks like the Page of Swords and the Queen of Swords both reversed, perhaps maybe mad that the jealous fool walked out, or the Page of Swords and the Queen of Swords are jealous, rejected, or moody schmoozers of the fool who's now free to leap, and walking that fine line with a snake at their heels. With manifestation and the 8 of the dance and manifestation of dreams, and that strength of the lion, and the effort beneath that of the 13 and transition and transformation and death. The release at the night of the eclipse full moon, as the Knight of Swords rushed back in need of some kind of hope to the Knight of Wands upright, keeping their cards close to their chest about the past, and the Three of Cups coming together in joy, only to break down, break up, break in, break out, or break through to heal their heart. After exposing happiness, vacation, Leo, kids, or pets, and starting over with options, synchronicities, and a fantasy as narcissistic Hierophant reversed, or a fantasy of being free from him, or that marriage, that contract, that religion, or Taurus. The turtle who's slow to romance, slow to candles and dessert. No more apple bottoms for the dirty old man, fantasizing about doing it right this time, throwing out the old book of love. After effort, the dance of manifestation of Leo upright here, along with Aries, and Taurus, Aquarius, and Cancer reversed here, along with Sagittarius as well. Not telling about coming together in the past, and breaking down, or a car accident, in order to now heal the heart, at last, at 7:20. The 7 of the Chariot, the 20 of Judgment, and that wake-up call of the 72 by 2. One last cup, and dogs no longer in the lead. Healing the Page of Swords and the Queen of Swords reversed, along with the Knight of Cups reversed, who may be leaving, or the King of Pentacles who's tired of all the jealousy, perhaps, and that can be rejection as well. Perhaps Aries is walking here. So we have, and the train is blowing right now. What's her name? Blow your horn. Dinah, won't you blow your horn? Dinah. Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah. Anyway, I can't remember, but that's the song coming up. The Empress is offering love to the Knight of Swords, or vice versa, knowing and keeping to themselves about a falling out with the Hermit and the King of Swords, with a negative message or without a word, uncomfortable and feeling unstable. The King of Pentacles is upright, with secret twin flame with a broken heart, and lovers powerless to bliss. And the Atlas, Four of Swords in 5D connection, and the Ten of Cups emotional fulfillment, working hard to be faithful. At 731, the Chariot and the conflict, or the group issues here. In the recent past is the Seven of Wands reversed and being defenseless, King of Swords upright with third party, and juggling or performing without a word, or the Page of Swords reversed, spying and lying and spreading rumors, or just immature messages, as the Chariot boldly moves forward in need of inspiration, happy family, and wise advisor, or one to hold the light on the rainbow bridge, in a heated exchange with the Divine Feminine in the 5D, perhaps not sleeping well or rising above, and implementing a plan to save, withhold, or play hardball, with the Empress, or as the Empress, upright, hovering over the King of Swords. And the foundation is the Nine of Pentacles reversed, of a dependent, or one who's powerless, spending, or a big purchase being made here, after receiving big love from the Page of Cups reversed, detoxing their spending habits, now that the worst is over, of feeling vulnerable or worried about getting in over their head, financially perhaps, and the central energy of the lovers upright, not calling and needing to swallow their pride. The Hermit or Virgo with light on the Ten of Cups, family happiness, while lovers or Gemini present, and the Page of Wands inspired by dependent, of the Empress, patient angel, or Taurus and Sag upright, not happy about that. The challenge being the King of Swords upright, with Libra in their chart, or in a slowdown after a sudden event, epiphany, or sexual exchange, and things not going their way. Or the Magician upright, manifesting, or the King of Swords Gemini, with the Divine Feminine 5D, with all of her synchronicities, and starting over and uncomfortable, with the Knight of Wands reversed, falling short of her expectations, or their expectations. At 745, the Chariot and the purging, letting go of any kind of loss or regret. Or the Player, and not sure if they're trustworthy. So again, it can be dealing with someone in your environment who may be falling short of your expectations. And again, it doesn't have to be your twin, it's just someone in your environment. And again, the energy of the Player coming up, someone who's not trustworthy, and why are you getting that energy from them? And if they're falling short, is it just because they need support and someone who believes in them, or is it because they're a player and they're untrustworthy and you shouldn't deal with them anymore? The Empress is upright after death or near-death experience, or dead tired, or needing to end things, to stop the avoid dance, with the Emperor reversed, who may be falling from grace there. You know, he could be abusing his power, or he could just be stepping down from power, or just not able to deal with that power anymore. Receiving big love from defenseless Devil reversed, or one detoxing, or Capricorn reversed, in need of attention from the Page of Cups and the Knight of Cups, who are both reversed, who may be coming clean about their shame and guilt, or their sadness, or learning how to clean it, or their manipulations, or cleaning up their act or space, perhaps just kids who need to clean up their rooms, but doing these things now to gain clarity, to get to the truth of who they are, or why they act the way they do. And again, if you have any children who've been chronically getting into trouble or things like that, they may be finally, kind of seeing the light as to why they are the way they are and wanting to understand. At 750 is the Chariot and the 50 of the Ten of Cups, that emotional fulfillment or happy family, hopefully, is the Six of Cups reversed, as the past returns, or perhaps these kids just need hugs. Knowing and keeping to themselves, the Queen of Pentacles is upright after sudden event post-war, with the Hermit. This can be an advisor, an old man, this can be a Virgo person or professional, perhaps shedding light, with Scorpio reversed, moving or visiting for a break or rest, or in a 5D connection, mother and children, or grandmother too, with Virgo upright, Taurus upright, and Scorpio reversed here. The Knight of Pentacles upright after hanging out inspection, or now awake to the King of Cups. They're upright in unconditional love, or a water sign. And the Queen of Swords reversed may be hurt and disappointed, with the Knight of Pentacles upright and the King of Cups upright in court, or with Justice, Libra, no longer feeling castrated, trying to mark their territory, no longer to be strong-armed, to be in a romantic tie, with the Queen of Wands upright, not aligning with working with ill people and implementing a plan in a losing battle with those giving up their victim mentality, being whiny and needy and jealous with no shame and no truth at 8:02. So it feels like someone being very judgmental here, although they're being honest. At 8:02, the dance and the 2 of the High Priestess, or perhaps the secrets and manifestation of your dreams. So at 8:03 is the 3 of the Empress then, and soon is the Tower reversed. After sudden events with lover and or kids, holding back an announcement to avoid a disaster, but the kids want to, or the kids went and exposed all, perhaps they weren't supposed to tell anyone, wanting to get the credit for something, or with an idea, awakened to the High Priestess with no end in sight, to depression or loss of hope of the Knight of Swords reversed, or Aquarius lashing out. With Scorpio reversed, Aquarius and Capricorn reversed, Leo and Pisces upright here, the Magician manifesting third party, or Gemini or Virgo upright, not invited to the workplace, or no socializing there, or the Knight of Swords reversed Magician or Gemini, an air sign with revenge on their mind, perhaps gossiping and or partying too much at work or at school, or misbehaving at services, or the Magician showing up everywhere here. With the twin flames being the Queen of Cups reversed here, being seen as the twin flames, but seeing themselves as the Queen of Cups reversed, which is, grieving a loss, basically. It can be manipulative as well. It can be depression issues or drinking issues. And the Fool's free from the workplace, the school, from services, and disconnect or at a distance in a breakup or inequity, released from a bind and letting go to fix things or make amends with someone from the past, or making amends with the past, or a soulmate or kids. Perhaps the Queen of Cups reversed and the 6 of Cups, kids, reversed, may be struggling now that school is out, or almost out, with finals, etc., and cranky people. With Aries upright, or just freedom rings, as pay attention to the red flags, your signs and synchronicities. And again, the red flags are coming up as Communist China, and let go of the control issues and heart-to-heart conversations. At 8:15, the dance of the devil, and around the twins, or how they're seen, is that 2 of Wands of the twin flames, being seen as they are, magnetizing in surrender. The Atlas leaving the wounded warrior behind, with no invitation or opportunity, with the 10 of Pentacles, family, business, or community, or legacy of wealth or abundance. Or if the child wants to come, or if they want to get financial help from them, then they're going to have to do the work. Playing hardball with the kids and or the family, business, or community, and their choice of path. The block here as the Knight of Cups reversed, being rejected, moody, insincere, or jealous, not being loving, perhaps getting yelled at on the way out and then crying at home, perhaps worried about being able to find peace somewhere, right? Being stuck in a lot of situations that are very chaotic and not peaceful. So healing comes up here as well as teaching and learning, but even more so moderation and personal growth. No longer obsessing over the divine feminine 5D, and powerless to the upside down world, or dependent, spending too much. With the Atlas leaving the wounded warrior behind, and the king, and that leaves one wand left, which is that inspiration of the third flame. The King of Wands is upright after a sudden event, epiphany, or sexual exchange, and he's seeing the divine feminine in the 5D synchronicities. The children burdened by defenseless and withholding, getting over deception, failure, or a bad reputation, doing things under the radar, or getting paid under the table at work, or saving for a split, or divided, or for when the truth is finally out, about the third party, or the bad influences, the gossips, the social distancing, or just no joy, no social life, and being uncomfortable, recovering from exile, injury, and or illnesses here. At 8:25, the dance and the manifestation of dreams of the Knight of Wands, who's supposed to have a passion for life. Well, the Queen of Wands upright, with Virgo there, which can be in her chart or can be a separate person, with the Page of Cups reversed and the King of Cups upright, are being patient with the Page of Swords and the Queen of Swords reversed, who may be grieving a loss. Or maybe there's two sets of children here. The Nine of Pentacles reversed dependent, and the Queen of Cups reversed choosing a new path, or twin flame defenseless to their lovers, and challenged by the King of Swords after a sudden event of jealousy, and the Six of Cups reversed or falling out in the past that is weighing heavily on them, the King of Swords. At 8:29, the dance of being present in the moment, or the gifts. The Atlas working hard for a new life at work, in a split or with no truth, and third party uncomfortable, unable to just walk away if they want to, because they're connected. At 8:31, the dance of the chaos and the groups, and being able to deal with other people. The Page of Swords reversed, perhaps being really immature without an excuse, perhaps apologizing to dependent or dependent apologizing, or powerless lover and the Six of Cups reversed kids, or the past returning and challenged by the King of Swords, upright with the Queen of Cups reversed, after a sudden event, epiphany, or sexual exchange, and the twin flame rejected or insincere, or burdened by the cycle taking forever to transition, or offering time, money, or effort at work, divided or lying about not coming together, and uncomfortable not being able to walk away in the never-ending recovery until death do us part and beyond. At 8:35, the dance of the wounded warrior and the energetic exchange. So just a quick few cards, because we're at 141. It's 4114, the Ace of Cups and the Higher Love. So let's just do an energy deck card, see what comes up for you guys. It's 5:52 on the clock, which is the Hierophant and the Queen of Swords, again the widow or the widower. It's 141:30 here, with the union of love, of new love, and the Magician again. What is our takeaway from the read today? That flipped right and did like a double somersault. There's two cards that actually came up. This one I think came up first, and then this one did a flip out. So maybe this one's flipping out about indecision, the Eight of the dance of indecision there, right? So if you've been dealing with indecision for a long time, it's because you haven't been making the right choice. You've been choosing nothing instead of choosing something. So that this is someone doing flips about flipping out about indecision, and that can also be someone getting yelled at for not being able to make decisions. But this one I think came out first, and that's attachment. So taking the mask off, there's the 5 again of the Hierophant and change, expansion, freedom, in taking that mask off. So again, there's indecision issues because of attachments to things. The attachment to a fear that you'll be wrong. What if you make the wrong decision? But you're supposed to be learning to trust your intuition here. So there isn't indecision. When you don't know, then you do nothing until you know, and then you do something. But either way, while you're in the interim, it's about letting go the mask, detaching from things that you're holding on to too tightly, that you feel chained to in a way. And there's the 5 and the 8 coming up too, which is greased lightning, which is again that energy of Uranus with Mercury and, what was it, Saturn coming up, the taskmaster. And then the man holding the heart. The 45 of the grieving process, of allowing the masculine to purge. Right? The indecision of being able to take the mask off, being scared of being outed, the humiliation, being embarrassed, right? The honorable divine masculine. Okay? You see a lot of red there too. Again, red china. So it's taking you back to Mao Zedong and understanding what they've been through and how they got there in the first place. And then there's the 7th chakra of Archangel Uriel, the crowning moment of the 41 coming up again, which is that Ace of Cups. And it's 555 on the clock. 555, that crowning moment. And 555 is the devil. It's the 15. It's that change, and then the 2 5s would be the new beginning, but then the 3 5s, it's really tough change. she's not happy right at the top there. This is all about self-love, spiritual love, and new love here, right? Graduating with honors, but yet you don't know what you want to do with it. Or graduating with honors because your parents made you take this route and it's not really what you want to do. Why would someone standing up there with honors have that face, that look on her face? Or maybe she's restricted from doing what she wants to do because of what's happened the past couple of years. But self-love, spiritual love, new love. There's one more card that wants to be seen, but the bottom of the deck is the Magician in the mirror. There's a magician popping up all over the place. The Knight of Swords, the messenger of truth, getting it out there. And then again, these are the cards that came out. The Attachment, letting go of that, of freedom. The Hierophant, of societal norms and the way God's supposed to be according to society. The contracts, the religion that you're supposed to be a part of that don't resonate with you. Taking the mask off with what doesn't resonate with you. What are you attached to that isn't part of who you are? And the indecision, well, when you're not ready to make a decision, don't make one. But don't beat yourself up about it either. Take a nap, take a walk, and redirect your focus onto something else that is working in your favor right now to clear your energy so that the decision comes through when you sleep and wake up. Put those intentions, into your dream state when you go to bed at night so that it will work on it for you and it'll eventually come out to help you make that decision. Don't struggle with the decision. There's no point. If you don't know, then leave it go. It'll come back. And there's the purge, right? So the decision is going to lead to a purge. You're going to cry. If you can't make a decision, you're going to end up crying because you're frustrated. So there's that greased lightning to get it out. You need to let go of the purge because then the purge will redirect you and then you will come clear that this isn't what you wanted. And maybe coming clear with you and a child and realizing that you forced them to do something that wasn't really resonating with them. And it's your fault, not theirs. And are you yelling at them for not doing what you wanted them to do? It's kind of that energy as well. This can be father and child energy, but it can be the twin energy as well. But again, it's all about taking off the mask, letting go of attachments, and letting go of resistance as well at the same time. And being more neutral about things. And allowing the purges. And allowing your disappointment to find out who you truly are. It was part of the journey. It's okay. Don't be mad that you didn't do something else. You were supposed to go through all that to get to where you are now. You didn't do anything wrong. So it's all good. It's really finally getting to the core of stuff and letting it go. And then we have the goddess of the moon, holding up the moon. It's like the feminine taking over the Atlas role while the masculine finishes his purging, the 52 of the war widow, happily holding up the moon for him so he can now go through his purge. So the masculine can understand the grief that he feels, that he's unaware of perhaps, can be coming up. And it's all about that ego life that we just closed off, of that deep grief of having lost someone and that nobody in our lives cared or helped us come together with that love. They didn't care. They put you in something that would make you miserable. And how distorted it can make a person and how it can lead them on the wrong life path by being forced into something that doesn't resonate with them. Okay. I am going to pull a Journey of Love card. So what is the guidance here? There's so much about the Queen of Swords and the Page of Swords and their grief. The grief of the animals and the human. Because you had to go through those lives before you got to be a human being. What is our message? What is our takeaway today? And pay attention to the red communist China flags. There's 3 cards coming up. Anyway, dream a little. The 51 is the King of Swords. Allowing the masculine to dream a little. Right? To find his bliss. And there's the Shokore energies there. Put the power here in your heart. Get your heart out of your solar plexus and bring it back to where it belongs. There's the devotion to the small. The vulnerable, which is the little boy in the masculine, and then the becoming of the 34, the energetic exchange, the arrows of love, the communication, and the travel back and forth but realizing there needs to be space between. Remember, this is a two-dimensional picture here. There's a lot of two-dimension here, right? Because the black and white's very two-dimensional as well. And this is like the feminine holding space in between the dimensions while the masculine dreams a little and learns to love himself more. The bottom of the deck is because she loves. Again, this is that woman holding up the moon, the Atlas energy, taking Atlas's place as Hercules. Her cules is her harvest. It's her harvest. She's holding up the moon because he is her harvest. He is her. She loves, taking a risk to love herself first. And there's the Mary Magdalene buttercup yellow again, right? She's holding up the weight. It's making me want to cry. She's holding up the weight of the world for the masculine while he does his purging here to learn to love himself more. And there's that self-love, spiritual love, new love, and she loves. She takes a risk to love. And then this card came out too, the blood dance, which is the 42 and the 2 of cups of the one-to-one, getting the heart pumping again, right? The one-on-one. And we're going to read 51. Dream a little. Dream a little dream of you. The divine wants to bless you with inspiration. And notice inspiration, not passion, right? Inspiration is that clearer passion without the ego. Just as a lover would come to the door of the beloved with a spontaneous gift of flowers. So dream a little. Let your imagination wander and wonder. What if? What else could be? Breaking down the rigid walls of expectation. Just because something has been does not indicate it must continue in the same way. So dream a little and receive your spiritual gift. This oracle brings you guidance. A spiritual gift of inspiration is on its way or has just recently been received. It isn't flight of fancy. It's a gift from the divine. Receive it and believe in new possibilities. From unexpected meetings, we talked and shared our lifetime, a gentle, peaceful, quiet time, reflected in our smile. We winged our way to distant places and walked along remembered faces of lives we knew we lived some time before. And like a bud about to flower, having reached its appointed hour, we watch ourselves begin to open in the warm touch of spring. And the next page is the Queen of Swords. So definitely bringing the King and Queen of Swords together after their wounds. Remember your water, your rest, your joy, and your nature, and try to balance them the best you can. And it's all good. So there's no need to worry about anything. And breathe. Notice it's 52. Breathe, you guys. Rise and be loved. I'll see you soon. Have an amazing day. Bye.